Starting in three, two, one. Hello, welcome to a new episode of Rants with Danny Sheet. Today, the day of recording is March 23rd, and we are less than a week away from opening day of the CPBL season. And once again, we have John Foster on this show to break down every single team for the upcoming 2025 season. Hello, John. Welcome to the show one more time.
Hey, always a pleasure. It seems like it's been forever since we spoke last.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a few weeks between the WPC qualifier and then we had Daniel Catalan on last for the last show. But the timing worked out perfect because we're literally less than a week away from opening day. It's just one of those seasons where there's a lot of buzz within Taiwan just because of how the Premier 12 went last year, and you see the excitement with the World Baseball Classic qualifier last month. And so there will be a lot of new fans that's going to at least get a feeling of what the CPBL games are like, I think, both domestically and internationally. So in the past, what we normally do with these previews are we go through each team and we focus more on the field, but I'm going to go through a little bit of each team's history as we go through each team, and then we're gonna take it to John to see what he thinks of their teams and what players to look out for, and pitchers that he really likes, etc. There's really not a better person to break down each team than the former pitching coach on the CTBC brothers. So really exciting for this show. But before we start going team by team, what do you think about how do you expect this season to play out, John, overall?
You know, it's so early. You can teams can go frontwards and backwards really, really quickly, and truthfully, a couple key players can really, really impact the teams. If it's some of their frontline guys, whether it's a starting pitcher, or it's a starting center fielder, like if it's an impact player, like wow, it can really, really hurt. Especially if you don't have the depth. But
yeah,
so we'll see if everybody's healthy and everything's good. Then let's see. Hopefully it's completely competitive and everybody goes within one game all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, and the one of the unique structure of the CPPL compared to other summer leagues is that you have a top and a bottom half season, and so if you win one of the half seasons, you have an automatic bid to the playoffs. And if you were the one with the better record out of the two half-season champions, then you get an automatic bid to the Taiwan series. So it's each half season only has 60 games. So if you have a strong 2 or 3 weeks, or one of your impact player gets really hot for 2 or 3 weeks, you put yourself in a really good position to be in the playoff and have a chance at that chip at the end of the year. So that's one of the unique things where that's what John said, which is if one of your players gets hurt and you have if a bad 2 or 3 weeks, maybe you can have a good chance later down the season to come back. But conversely, when you have a really strong 2 or 3 weeks, the Lions are really good at this. They get hot for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, and they get in a really good position to win a half season championship, and then they go straight to the playoffs. And so that's a very unique, one of the unique parts about the CPPL season. Everything is more short term, even though you are looking at a 120 game season. But we're going to go through team by team, and we're going to start with the TSG Hawks. Their last season was their first season in the CPPL quote unquote major league, your first Army level. They're an expansion team last year. They went 49-70, a respectable record, I would say, for an expansion team. They actually finished second last in the bottom of the second half season. So they didn't actually finish last in the second half season. They had a better record than the Fubon Guardians. And normally when with these expansion teams, because they lack depth, you would expect them to probably start stronger than they used to, than they're supposed to, and then tail off. But they actually finished pretty well last year. Their key stars involved Steven Moya, which is the home run leader of last year. He hit 30 homers and just keeps on, hitting lasers out of the park. And then Juan Borom as well. He went to Hokkaido Nippon Ham for a few years. We tore up the league with the Lamigo Monkeys, hitting 400 batting average for a few years. Went to Japan, came back last year, as one of the key players on their offense. So, John, what do you think about the TSG Hawks overall?
Well, like you just ended with Moya. I mean, the guy's a monster. Like I think when he shakes your hand, I think that his fingers touch each other on the other side. Like he's a beast. He's got so much power. He can hit a home run at any at bat, even if he's in the biggest slump. He's always a threat. So like that's going to be there nonstop. You can a guy with him a lot of times making your pitch isn't good enough. Sometimes there's got to be something extra behind it to be able to actually beat him. I believe that the foreign pitchers
Mhm.
had a pretty good success against him just because they're used to facing hitters like that more in their entire career. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the case on him. you know Also too, in that lineup on the major league side, I was the good thing is that they have a manager who is a no BS kind of guy, and he's had success in the league and everything, and he works them and he accepts them. He wants them to do well, and he wants results, and it's results oriented no matter what. When we win, you win for me, I'm on your side. If not, go back to Gauchon, go back to CC Lake
Yeah.
or wherever, like we're kind of not going to be playing around too much. But overall, you've got number 59 who used to be with the Lions is with them. And, I've always liked, some of their guys that they've had. I believe they have number 88 who was with the Monkeys before. I've always loved watching that guy play. Um, they're always a strong set, and if they're hot, watch out. Like when they're hot, they're on fire hot. Like nobody can get them out. Truthfully, those if those guys are hot and they can sustain, they can show these guys exactly how do they need to just keep going, and how to fight, be professionals. Be a professional hitter. The rest of the guys, especially their first rounder, I think he's number 1. Is that right? Their shortstop. Yeah,
The
he is.
shortstop too. Yep.
That guy is special. He's very, very special. So watch out for that kid right there. He might have just an absolute banger of a season this year. And then on the pitching side, the good thing is that they got experience last year, being in the majors, and they had a lot of turnaround. So a lot of guys got some experience. So that's a good thing, is like you get to see who was good under pressure, who was good in these situations. And, overall, they do have some older guys in here to watch out for. The guy, number 19 for them, who used to be with the Lions, number 20, the little lefty who was number 16 for the Lions. Like those two guys right there could have a crazy season this year. As you know, I believe that number 20 for the Lions, the lefty, I believe that a couple years ago, I mean, holy smokes, he was leading the league in almost everything. And what it seems like in the CPBL, especially for some of the local guys, it's like sometimes they'll have this incredible year and then they kind of have like an off year, maybe even 2, and then boom, another good one. So watch out. You never know. They might just catch on fire and really, really do a really good job. And then there's I like some of their relievers really, really well. Like number 14. I really like him. I think he's got a great attitude. He's tough, and they have one of our old pitchers. I called him Pig, number 67. You never know. He's due for a really good season too, and he could make an impact. He can go deep into games, eat some innings for him. Yeah, he could be valuable. And you never know with Dashawn, number 99. He might have something to do too. I mean, he got some good exposure, and that's a 95-mile-an-hour arm right there. It's just a matter of something that when it clicks, it clicks. And then they have their starters, who number 66. They have another reliever, 84. Like 84 had a really great season with the Monkeys. Then he was gone. And I think he had a couple injury issues and whatever, or up and down. But man, there's games where he was in the games against us where, man, he got everybody out. So as of right now, it's just a matter of who's going to step up in these situations and take that job. I believe they're all up for grabs. So, and Hung is not going to just allow anybody to get there. The position's earned.
Yeah.
So I think that overall, that's where that's where I would stand on these guys. There's a couple guys here in between, here and there, but overall, I'd look out for those guys right there.
Yeah, and honestly, we still view them as an expansion team, but they tied the Lions with the most numbers of players in the qualifier roster, the national team qualifier roster. Now there are probably some reasons behind the scenes. So they started spring training earlier than anybody else because they can, because their players are younger than them. So they're probably better as replacement pieces for some of the guys who dropped out, but still they're still national team level players, and so it's a nice roster that can compete at a pretty good level. And like you said, there's guys like Jiang Chengyan, number 20. Braden Higgins is on this team, and he's been a really reliable pitcher in the league for many years. Ever since the pandemic season, he's been in the league for many years. And then you have Chen Boqi, number 66, who's who pitched back to back games at the Premier 12 as a starter, one against the USA and then one against Japan in the Super Round. And so you got these very nice pieces. And then Zheng Ziyu, I forgot to mention him. He was the Rookie of the Year last year, and he's your starting shortstop. And the when they drafted him, he was going to be the cornerstone of this franchise. And so you've got some nice pieces. Again, the depth will be something to worry about for this team, but for this franchise, they've established identity off the field. They're really big into marketing with the Kaohsiung culture, the Kaohsiung city, and that last year their average attendance, I think, was something like 4,000 to 5,000 people when the Gates are playing in Kaohsiung, and that's a very good number when you're an expansion team. You're trying to establish something from ground zero, and so that's a team where the fans are excited about. They have young pieces. They understand. I think the fans are smart enough to understand that if they go on a losing streak, that to not overreact. And so there's a team to really root for. If you're rooting for underdog, we're rooting for young pieces going for the future. This is a fun team. I do believe they're a really fun team to watch and very fun team to root for if you're looking for a new team.
And truthfully too, I didn't even get to the. I really
out of the 120 games, yeah, but
and like so, you have Stout, and then you have a new guy who's an addition. So watch out for Eric Stout. That guy's nasty, man. I'm telling you. And you don't know what can happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes through and does really well for the first half, and then he goes back to Korea. Truthfully, I wouldn't be. I don't really know too much about the new guy, but then you got Higgins, who's, as we all know, was dominant as a closer role. Holy smokes! So I mean, watch out, because if they get hot too, it could be like the Dragons when they were first, expanding, and they were the best team in the second half. So, but.
And the Dragons gave the Brothers everything y'all could handle in the playoff series when just their second year into like their first team.
I was worried.
Yeah. And that was one of those things where I was like, oh, they're coming. Like the Dragons are here to stay because, second year in the First Army, and they make the playoffs, and they're like right with the Brothers who were so good at the time. I mean, they're still very good. So, really exciting stuff from the Hawks. Out of 120 games, how many games do you see them winning?
Oh man, that's a good one there.
That's a tough
just
one.
for reference, last year they won 49.
I was gonna say let's shoot for 60.
Yeah.
Let's shoot for being 50-50. I think that's a huge that's pretty good, especially for the league. For what the league is. I mean, a little above 500 sometimes can get you in the playoffs. You can be at 500 and win the whole series. So it's just a matter of when do you get hot. You could have a 20-game losing streak and win 40, or win, and then so it's just so different, But I think 60, anything above 60 is like a huge bonus. Like good for them, really, really good for them.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the Monkeys have been making the playoffs the last few years. Kind of right above 500. They're competing here and there for the half season championship, but they're consistently good, and that's how they normally earn their spots in the playoff. And the Hawks can sneak in there. I mean, half the league make the playoffs, and so if they can sneak in there, that would be a huge thing. And then like the Dragons' first time in the playoff, anything can happen with a short series.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the Guardians. Their first year in the CPBL was 2017. The Fubon organization basically bought the EDA Rhinos back in 2016, and the Rhinos won their first and last NCPBL championship back in 2016. But since then, the Guardians have not made the Taiwan series. They made the playoff series once since 2017, and that's the longest playoff drought among the 6 current franchises so far. Their 2024 record was 53, 1, and 66. There are ties in the CPBL, by the way. If you go 12 innings, the games don't go beyond 12 innings. So if the games are tied, then it's a tie. So 53, 66, and 1 was their 2024 record. Their key stars, you got Yu Chang, the major league caliber hitter that came back to CPBL, signed record-breaking deal with the Guardians, averaging over $2 million new Taiwanese dollars a month. So that's about $60,000 US dollars, 67-ish US dollars a month for, I think it was like 4 or 5 years. And he was really good in the league until they tried to play him through an injury, which I still don't like that decision. They also have Dai Peifeng, who they picked in 2017 as a first rounder. They picked him over the players like Li Zhenchang, CC Lee, and it took him a while to develop him as a catcher. But he's finally their first team catcher who has been performing really well both behind the plate, commanding the game, and at the plate as well. And he's one of the key players in the Premier 12 national team who won the tournament in November of last year as a backup catcher.
You're talking about 95, right?
Yes.
95?
Yes. Yeah, he's really good. He's been really good.
Really good.
Years. What do you think about the Guardians, John?
Like you said, I would say that of course Yu Chang. I mean, come on now. Like, I would say, like, the best advice I would give if I was actually with that team is like, look, just play. Don't worry about carrying this team or thinking about pressure. Just go play baseball, and we'll follow. Like, just go out there and play. And you have no pressure whatsoever. Just go out there and do your thing, man. Don't worry about nobody, but just get out there and get it done, and he'll do it, but I think he has some pressure under him too. Like, he wants to produce and everything, but yeah, he's a big leaguer. He gets it. It'll be fine. I believe that number 46 for them might have a banger of a season, just because he kind of had an off year, and we've known and seen him a couple of years ago where it was like, man, he's hitting opposite field home runs, and he's staying back on the ball, and he was a threat up there, especially to our team, it seemed, when, man, he hits Chinga, Ian Ching, so well. Like, holy smokes, does he hit him well? Like, he just sees it so perfectly, but yeah, those guys should have a fantastic season. There's also, you never know with 98. When he gets hot, he's also really, really hard to get out, but the good thing is, like, when you look at this team, look at them on paper, and you just look at them and just have seen them play. Number 2, he's got some speed. He's super quick. Like, he can start some fires. He has a resemblance of, say, 24 from the Lions, as a really younger version of that. Like, he could start some stuff. He gets more contact or whatever. Like, he could be a really important guy. Like, they have speed. They're young. They should have some confidence. Go out there. They got nothing to lose. Let's just go out there and win. On the position player side, and the catcher, like you said, 95. Then you also have, number 47 too as well, who used to be number 69.
Yeah.
He could just all of a sudden catch on fire, and watch out. If you got him, I believe that's his brother, correct?
Yeah. Yu Chang, right? And number 47.
Right. You got those two together, and they're just going, God, you just might as well call them the Bash Brothers, because holy smokes, you know what I mean? Like, it could happen. Like, you never know. It really, really could. And then go on the pitching side, you've got the lefty 81, who's pretty consistent, but he was also one of those guys who, like, had a fantastic season, was leading the league and everything, and kind of had one okay, and then boom, had another good one. So hopefully, I always liked him, off-speed kills with him and his changeup and stuff, how he throws it, it's excellent. Number 80, another younger guy. Number 66, he has promise. I've always loved number 32. I think he used to be number 46 for them, the lefty reliever.
Mhm.
He went
Yeah,
he went to the Monkeys.
yeah,
Man, I've always watched that guy.
yeah.
I always like him. He's got this attitude about him. He's not afraid of nobody, and I like him a lot. I always
Mhm.
wanted him. I always wanted him to be on my team. Fine. You got the closer. You got number 60. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
sheesh, or late reliever. Then you've got Pick's brother, number 13, who came from the Dragons.
yeah,
He's a 90-mile-an-hour arm who, if he catches on fire, man, just watch out. If he just
yeah,
fills up the zone and doesn't walk people and really competes out there, man, he can do some serious things. And then
yeah,
they've got number 19, they've got number 18. Like, they've got some dudes,
yeah,
really, really do. And then even if I go, let me change rosters here real fast here. And when I look at the other side, then you go into their foreigners. Let's see. No, then they have number 12, who I've seen start fantastic games against us.
yeah,
Then they've got Rio, they got Gomez, they got Morimondo, they've got Franco.
yeah,
Like, they've got some guys, they've got the pitching definitely to get some things done. And
yeah,
if you look at their past, if you look at the past, their numbers and stuff have never really been bad. They just haven't found a way to kind of click as a team to really get things done. Maybe like the identity wasn't there or something. But boy, if this team does catch it and they get confidence in themselves, I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of changes going on there too. You know,
yeah,
they got a foreign hitting coach. They got Lin Sun back there. They got Chin Feng Chun. They've got a lot of good things working for them. So they're they're on the rise. And I think I said it before. Watch out in the next 5 years.
yeah.
And then this could be year one of like making this thing work.
Yeah, it's every year we sit here with preseason, you look at the roster and you're like, on paper, they can compete with anybody. And I
Anybody.
remember what one of the interviews that we had, you're sitting there saying the Guardians are never easy games. They
Never.
always give the brothers a hard time. They're always in there, but it seems like every time the dice rolls the other way for them. And I think right now it's gotten to a point where they have to make the Taiwan series to get the monkeys off their back, because you see last year they were good, like they were in it for a long time until like they hit, what was it, August or September, when they like couldn't win a game.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can see like after 4 or 5 games, like it started getting in their head, like no good teams would not win a game without like being, I think, some there's some sort of a nervousness within themselves, or they're trying too hard sometimes. It's just, I think there's a fear mentally that's kind of been ingrained with this organization, that if things start to fall off the rails a little bit, or things start to lean the wrong way a little bit, they kind of panic, and then things get worse, and then the things get worse, and then they find themselves to be 12 games out of first place, and like, oh, I'll go on to the next season, and then that's when they find their groove back. So at one point you start to feel bad for them, but you know I've always said they're kind of like the New York Mets of the CPBL. Like they're in a big market, but they're not the biggest brand, and they're easy to be kind of the butt of the joke every single season. But at one point they're going to. It feels like at one point they're going to break through. It's just, do you have the mental toughness to break through? Because if you just have to be in the top half of the league to make the playoff, and they haven't done that besides once in the last 7 seasons, and that's abnormal. That's not normal for
Yeah.
a league like the CPBL.
Yeah, and not only that, they did make some changes, coaching wise, and I know that they have Cat. I don't know his name, but he used to be the bullpen coach for the brothers a while ago. Then he went to Japan, then he came back and came to the Monkeys, and now he's over there. That's a big step too, because he's got experience. He knows what he's doing. When I remember when I first got the job with the brothers, I remember them saying that I like his ideas. The foreign coaches, the foreign pitching guys are saying, I like what Cat has to say. So, there's a lot of good things going on there, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
You want to know the number on them?
Yeah. What's your number on them?
You know what? I have to go higher, and I would say that their goal would be 70 plus,
Wow.
truthfully. I mean, that would be awesome. It would be great, but I think shooting for 500, I think that's shooting too low for them. I think
Right.
that they have the talent to go way higher, so they need to raise their expectations of what they need to do. I really do.
Yeah. And they also have one of the best off the field marketing teams out there. Like, despite being um underperforming on the field, they've always had good environments. They're really good at building a family friendly environment at the ballpark. And it's one of the one of the best environment to be a part of,
By
especially
far.
for especially for a team that doesn't do well on the field.
It's
So
by far. I've
yeah.
last season I went to many games uh, as a fan,
Hmm.
and their atmosphere, their field, the way it's set up, the just like everything about it. It's like it's real baseball. It really, really is, and it really feels Americanized. Like
Hmm.
that would be the closest place, atmosphere, and like the way it's set up and everything as a um, as a as a baseball field for here in the United States. It
Yeah.
really is. That's the closest one by far.
Yeah, and I say the Guardians are some many times the butt of the joke in the league, but make no mistake, the football organization takes care of and takes this team very seriously. They invest a lot of money, they invest a lot of time, they invest a lot of effort, and you can tell from all of the setups outside, in the stadiums, renovations, and renovating the Xinjiang Stadium into what it is today. It's a good team to root for. It's just sometimes if you really do care about things on the field, it sometimes can be hard to do so.
Oof.
Yeah, yeah,
It is tough at times, but you know what? I I'll stand behind what I said, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But watch out. I
yeah.
don't know. I just there's something about them.
Yeah, some in a league like this, something like one thing clicks and they can be on a huge run every now and then.
Mhm.
The
Exactly.
Waitrin Dragons, as we move on to the 2023 CPBL championships. They their first year in the league is 1989, but they left the league in 1999, and then they came back into the CPBL. They announced their comeback in 2019, and then played their first Army Major League CPBL game in 2021. And like we mentioned earlier, in year two, they made the playoffs, gave the eventual champions, the brothers, everything they yeah, give the eventual champions, the CTBC brothers, everything they could handle in the playoff series. And then the following year, they beat the Rakuten Monkeys in a 7-game series in 2023 to win their first championship since coming back to the CPBL. They have right now they have really have a lot of star power on their roster, starting with Shiro Ishii, the phenom, the son of the dragon. If you listen to the World Baseball Classic qualifier English podcast, Tyler Mons, keeps on repeating "son of the dragon." He's probably, if he stays healthy, he could be the next pitcher to be exported into Japan or the U.S. for the upcoming off season.
Hmm.
You also have They also signed two major free agents, including Chen Zihao, who just signed a total value of that broke the 100 million new Taiwanese dollar barrier with its total value of the contract. He was a slugging right fielder for the CTPC brothers. Now he's switched over to the Waitrin Dragons on a record-breaking deal. Another interesting piece in their roster is Brian Woodall, who this year will not be counted as a foreign player because he's been in the league playing for over 9 years. So that's also an interesting part. They will technically have more than more foreign players than others because Brian Woodall now does not count against the foreign player limit. That being said, the Dragons are very good. They're very good very quickly, and to me, one of the most respectable teams on the field for me in the CPBL. John, what do you think of the Dragons?
Well, I mean, I will just tell you, if you look at them depth wise of what they have, like they have some talent. They have a ton of speed. They have a manager who cares about them as people. Uh, they have a lot of things that are working in their benefit. And if I just go down from bottom to top, like you said, you've got number one, who was with us for years. Then you have number two, who's so fast. Then you got number seven, who catches on fire, and when he does, gosh, dang, is that kid hard to get out, and like he's just a firecracker. Then they have some good backups too with those. Number 24, seen him. Then you got number 11, who used to be with the Monkeys. Like, I mean, holy smokes, do they have some power and some good older guys who can really get the job done. I mean, even if you go with those four guys, one of those guys can be a DH and they can just switch off every once in a while. Like, wow, if that's how you're going to do it, that's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters. You got Ake still there. Then you got 46. You got 57, who's due for a really banger of a season. After he kind of I don't know if he was hurt or not, but kind of he had a really good one, then kind of like fizzled a little bit. Guys are figuring him out, but hopefully he can come back and figure that out. You've got an older guy in Dong Long, who can really. I mean, I think he's going to be a great coach one day whenever he's done playing. And he can set that tone and be a good person to be in the dugout to keep those guys level-headed. Then you have number 6, one of the Monkeys guys who was number 21 for them. Gosh, I mean, that guy, when he was on that team, that guy would give me nightmares sometimes. It's like, how, like, we can't get this guy out. And then 21, like that, and then 25, like, jeez, like the speed and the, like, all of these guys they're hard outs. They're not easy outs, And then you've got you've got their catchers, where you've got, I don't even begin to act like I can understand his last name or how to say it.
The one with the very long name, yeah.
But I mean, don't, like, he can hit a home run at any time, at any count, in any place, no matter what kind of slump, no matter what's going on. So, like, that's always a threat.
Yeah.
And I've always loved number 60, who used to be with the Monkeys, the little short catcher. I've always liked him. He's got an absolute cannon behind the plate. And you know what? He's a guy who can get it done, and he always gives you hard at bats. Even if he's not good at that time, he'll always do his best behind the plate. He blocks really well. He's got a good arm, and you know what you're going to get out of him. And then 63, he's been there. He's been up and down as well. Who knows what's going to happen with that? On the pitching side, I mean, I like the pitching staff, with 99 being a late guy. I also like the left-hander, number 90. I think that he was hurt last year or something, but that guy's got some promise. He's a mid-90s arm, and I've seen him. I've always liked him when he'd come into games, but he seems like he doesn't care, doesn't have any fear, and kind of just goes right after guys. Like you said, with and then there, 59. Who else? If I go through, you got Danny, number 51. Who knows? He needs to step up this year. Being a top round pick, he needs to step up this year and get the job done, especially with the experience that he's got. Then you've got their reliever, used to be with the Monkeys, number 5 now. I don't know how many numbers he's had in the last 6 years, but he went from 20 to 0 to 00 to whatever, And that guy, if he catches on fire, I've always loved him. I've always wanted him on my team, truthfully. And if he has a good season, watch out, because that guy's nasty. You got 16, you've got 17, you've got 18, of course, you got 20, you got Woodall as another guy. You've got, what's that, Tyler and Drew?
Yeah.
I mean, holy smokes, man. I think that, watch out for Tyler. This is his second team, right?
Yeah.
Second team football, and then here, watch out, see what happens. You got 48 too. Like, I mean, I like them all. Truthfully, that's a tough team to pitch against, and a tough team to hit against, truthfully. So they've got a lot of good things going. Just about managing them. It's just about managing them in the right way, and I think that Coach does a fantastic job of that. He really does. He cares about his guys. His guys love playing for him. He'll do anything for them, and everybody knows it. And I've always liked him.
Yeah, they're undoubtedly at least one of the, if not the favorite, to at least make the playoff or maybe get into Taiwan series. So with the talent that they have, with the roster depth, at least in the first Army level, their roster depth is up there now with the likes of the Brothers and the Lions. And their foreign pitching is always very strong. It doesn't feel like they're saving money. It never feels like they're saving money on their foreign players,
Mm-mm.
which is always a great sign when you're picking a team that really cares about their baseball teams, organization that picks that really cares about their baseball team.
Mm.
That's always something you want to look out for. Are they trying to get a nickel and dime here for their foreign players? Because they're really foreign players are such a strong, such a big part of their each team's roster and their success that much more investment probably doesn't always mean the great thing, but you want to at least you don't want to feel like you're being cheap with their foreign players.
Mhm.
Miguel Ake, one thing to note, he has announced that this will be his last season in the CPBL.
Mhm.
Absolute legend, has been in the league since I was in first grade of elementary school. Like they were giving out like the 7-Elevens always at the time, like 2006, 2007, did all like they always do like little toy giveaways if you buy enough for stuff like that. There was one time they did CPPL players, like a little like a circle little a paper patch thing that they gave out
Mhm.
of each player, like stars, and then on the back they had their name, their birthdays and stuff like that. My cousin got Miguel Ake's patch, and at that point he was already like a huge star. He hit behind
Yeah.
Chen Jinfeng, who was like the absolute goat of Taiwanese hitters. He
Uh-huh.
was protecting that guy at the Lanue Bears, and his birthday is January 1st because we always made a big deal out of it because that's what the birthday was. We always had made not really made fun of, but my cousin will always show off like, oh, his birthday is January 1st. You know how I know? Because I got his patch. But yeah, he's a huge a very influential player in the CPBL in Taiwanese baseball, and he has announced that this will be his final year. So I'm imagining a lot of festivities, especially in later part of the season, with all the teams doing some sort of a ceremony to congratulate him on his final year. He's that kind of a player.
Mm.
Yeah, this team, man, like they this where they're at today is what the Hawks would definitely dream of being at in 3 years down the line, because this
Yes.
coming from like an expansion team just 4 years ago to now, this is what their fifth season, and they're
Mhm.
already like they're among the favorites to win, and so that they're not anybody to overlook. And they have players on the field, on the hitting side, on the pitching side. They're all very strong. Now, I want to warn you because you said 60 games for the Hawks and the 70 games for the Guardians. Hopefully, at one point, we make sure the wins, all the win totals add up on your side. When if everybody's above 500, that the math doesn't go right. I'm kidding. But the Dragons are one of those teams, and as we go further down, the teams are only going to get stronger. So, where do you see the Dragons? How do you see them play out this year?
And I would I'm not sure on all of my ratings of whatever I would want them to how many wins. It's an individual basis. It wouldn't be like I'm not counting the wins to see if like to try to count to be 120 in the league.
Sure, sure.
I'm really trying to see like what I would do in the organization to see like what is our goal,
Sure.
and kind of go from there. Like that should be the expectation of what we should do. With them, it the funny thing is that in this league, the 5 wins is huge.
Yeah.
It's so huge, and yes, it is in every league in one way, shape, or form, but more so in this league. 5 wins can really take you from third to first.
Mhm.
A lot of times throughout the years of whatever I've been like, it's like sometimes you look like you're, oh man, it feels like we're losing every other game, but yet we're
Yeah.
still 500 and we're still like right on first,
Yeah.
and it's like we're still hovering and hovering. So it's just a different dynamic,
Mhm.
but for these guys, I mean, there's no reason why 3 of their foreigners, not including Woodall,
Yeah.
can get 10 wins this season.
Mhm.
That's 30 right there.
Yeah.
Let alone Drew might have an incredible MVP season again and gets 15 to 18. So like that's a big spot of it right there. You just don't know what's going to happen yet. But I think I think if you go in the 75, which it's only 5 more than the other, but still that's like a substantial difference. It really is. Because then if you're in the 75 and then all of a sudden you win 78, 80 games, that's massive,
Yeah.
massive, massive. But I would say as an expectation, um, they're right there. They're going, we're getting 75. And if we get 75, we're going to be in first place,
Yeah.
And then when I say that was football, and 70 is like, that's our goal. But if we get 65, I'll tell you what, I think we're still in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
You know what
For
I
sure.
mean? So I think that's why those ratings are as high, because I want them to hold to a higher expectation. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would say, yeah, at least 75. If I was to be meticulous, I'd say 77.
Yeah, and just for reference, last year the brothers who finished first in the league had 70 wins, and they were 3.5 games clear from second place. And so
Mhm.
you're right, like winning 70, like look, even in like Major League Baseball, like 600 winning percentage is huge, and getting, but that's something that the Dragons, if they're healthy, there's no reason they shouldn't aim for that. They're that good on their starting
100%.
side, like on their top end talent, their depth, their bullpen, their starters, everything. Their domestic pitcher, they have the strongest domestic pitcher in my opinion, Shiroshi number 18. Like that, he's the most talented pitcher right now. So in the
Watch
league,
out.
domestic. So like there really isn't. Yeah, if everybody stays healthy, they're really strong.
They're
They're up
tough.
there.
They're real tough.
Yeah. And they're a team that you're probably looking at the schedule like, oh, here we go again. So um they're situated in their main stadium right now is situated in Tianmu Baseball Stadium, which is in Taipei. They kind of brought baseball back to Taipei when they came back into the league. Tianmu was not being used as a regular home stadium in the CPBL until the Dragons really wanted to use it as like a part-time home stadium for a few years, but then their major feature stadium, Hsinchu Baseball Stadium, was had its problems, and that is not gonna go away anytime soon. So Tianmu is now their basically their full-time home arena, and honestly, they have the market of Taipei and the very very strong marketing IP of the Weichun
Mhm.
Dragons, who had been in the league for 10 years before returning in 2021, and so they had a good foundation to build on. I think they've done a pretty good job building an identity. I think that was also a big part of how they could get back to competing at the highest level so quickly, because they had an identity and their coaching staff was full of players who was on that previous stint in the 90s. So very interesting team and very cool team to root for. Moving on, we're going into the teams that made the playoff in 2024. Starting with the Rakuten Monkeys, their first Army season was 2020 during the COVID year. The Rakuten Core bought the team off of Lamigo, who basically was a family business selling shoes in Taiwan. The Rakuten Core comes in, buys the team in 2019, and they've been in the league since then. They bought the team off of a three-peat season and winning 4 out of the previous 5 seasons. But the team has not won a championship since then, but they're always in the mix. They had you can't just go on a three-peat without having very, very strong players and an identity of your team. And that's what the Rakuten Monkeys have been building upon. In the 2024 season, they went 62, 57, and 1, and they've been in the playoff last year in 2023 as well. And they were in the 2022 season as well. And so they're constantly in the top echelon of the CPBL. And that's one of those things where I mentioned earlier, they might not win every half season championship. In fact, they might fall off the half season championship race quite early, but they're always going to be at that third or fourth place team tier where they make they're consistently good. And in this league and this structure, you just have to be consistently good in order to make the playoff, and that is not easy to do. I said you just have to be, but it's really hard to be consistently above 500 throughout the entirety of the season. And so, but that's exactly what they've done in the last few years. Their key stars involves Huang Zipeng, who has been one of the best domestic pitchers in the CPBL. A very reliable sidearm pitcher that also won the Premier 12 championship with Team Taiwan in November. Huge. He's the only player I think that pitched in both the Premier 12 in 2024 and the World Baseball Classic in 2023. A lot of the pitchers in that 2023 squad actually didn't make, after two full seasons, they kind of either flamed out or they have injuries. But Hong Sipong has been there for both stints, and that's very impressive by itself. You have also Chen Wei, who came in the league as one of the fastest and probably like the pinch running guy, who's probably, we always wonder how good he is. You always hope, oh, you just have to make contact to get on base and then you'll create havoc. But now, not only has he proven to be a really good contact hitter, but he can send one out of the field as well. And with the speed that he has, he's really becoming a really good all-around offensive piece. And of course, Ling Li, which I personally I think is one of the best, if not the best, all-around offensive player in Taiwan. So obviously, I've spent a little bit more time introducing this team because they are my favorite team in the CPBL, as you can probably tell. But John, what do you think of the Rakuten Monkeys this year?
Oh, I like what you said. With Chen Wei, yeah, the guy's an absolute race car on the
Yeah.
base path. It's unreal. Like he's tough. He's a tough out too. Sometimes he goes into little slumps and he begins to be one of the easiest guys to get out. But overall, man, like you said, yeah, he can hit a home run too. And even though he's 104 pounds, and he finds a way to get it done. He's a scrappy hitter, and any ball he puts on contact, he can. I mean, the thing you have to worry about with him is that whenever he hits a ball, he will take that extra base. So no matter where that baseball is, he's thinking double.
Yeah.
And he runs like that. That's how he is as a base runner. So I mean, he's tough. Then you go to 35. I think 35 is up for another good season. I think he had a really disappointing one last year. I think he's probably disappointed in it. But I think that, from the years previous, I mean, that guy's what was one of the hardest guys to get out and one of the most clutch guys in the years previous. It's funny because, number 24 for them, it's funny. I think it's whatever. That's like, I always told everybody on the team, I was like, hey, if you hit somebody, just look at him in the dugout because he might come after you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I like Jason, number 94. I really, really like him. He's got some flair out there. I saw him play a lot in the minors, but even in the majors, like if he can get on to the what I would consider the monkey's way of hitting and really get on track, he's one of those guys who's going to be a staple item in their lineup for years to come. Lin Lee, of course, if he's hot, you can't throw a pitch anywhere on the outer part of the plate. He'll hit him out of the park. He's not really a pull hitter too much, but he's dangerous. And then you've got 45 for them, who's dangerous. 58, who is ready for a really good season again. 79, who's a consistent guy, and he seems like every time he comes into the lineup, he always makes something happen. He's not really a home run hitter, but man, he is a line drive hitter. He can hit doubles, and he's just consistent. Number 5, number 6, those guys have given me damage over the years. Number 15, I haven't had much stuff for him because I didn't really get to face him one-on-one, but this guy is special, and the league hasn't really seen who this guy is yet.
Yeah.
And if he really goes out there and he shows who he is, that would be really fun to watch, truthfully. And with that lineup right there, with those guys just alone are pretty awesome. And then you've got oh gosh, and you got number 2. I love him as a catcher. I think he's got some serious promise for the future. And then of course number 11, who can never forget about that freaking guy. I don't know how many times that guy's also given me nightmares of how can we get people out, because that guy hands down is probably one of the most clutchest hitters I'd ever seen at one point, that no matter what we could have thrown it over his head and he would have found a way to get a hit. It was unbelievable. Then when we go on the pitching side, yes, you've got Peng, a side armor. Then you've got some of their foreigners too, who are repeating years. you always worry about the repeating years on some guys, and
Mhm.
especially if some guys switch teams, because there's not too much success on that realm. Only a couple guys have actually done that,
Yeah.
had success switching teams, and Woodall's one of them. He's pretty special because he's still going.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and then, their relievers, I like their relievers in Bo Howe. We had him for a long time.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier for him and his success going over there and just really getting the chance to really do something special. I like 48 for them. You've got, now, what's the other ones on here? You know, 17. I've seen him pitch in some big games. I've seen him I really like him. I think he's better than what he's showing too. And
Mhm.
let's see what happens. Really, because I mean, his numbers in Japan were crazy good, like
Yeah.
video game numbers, like
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like, what do you have, like a low two
Yeah.
or a mid
Hmm.
two ERA for his entire career there? Like
Yeah.
that's
It's not
that's
just one year.
hard.
It's like, yeah.
That's hard, and he did it for many, many years. I like number 23. I think he might have a good season this year. He can stay healthy. I'd like to see him stay healthy because that guy's a big leaguer, and I think that guy right there could really be a frontline local guy and like be like a number three. I mean, meaning that he could be just as good as a foreigner.
Mhm.
He really could. I can see it. He's got it in there. He's got a good breaking ball. He's got an attitude. He knows what it takes. It's just gotta click for him, and he can
Yeah.
just. Yeah, I hope he can just stay healthy. Double zero. Of course, we know him out of the bullpen, and there's a couple other guys here and there I'm probably gonna miss, but yeah, I don't. You know, and there's one thing to mention: the hitting coach now.
Mhm.
Okay, the hitting
Yeah.
coach is the old hitting coach
Yeah.
who used to be the manager. Now
Yeah.
he's the hitting coach.
Yeah.
Watch out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Watch out. Watch out to the old monkeys where they used to be, where I would tell all my pitchers, well, you're going to Italia and you might as well be going to Yankee Stadium
Yeah.
because it's just the truth. Like, be ready for a battle. They're going to go out there. They're going to get their 10 hits every night, no matter how
Mhm.
good you are.
Yeah.
So how you react to them getting their hits is what's going to make the difference between getting a win and getting a loss.
Yeah.
Hitting in throwing 7 innings, giving up 3, or throwing 3 innings, giving up 8.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big, big difference. And, I think I believe that he had a big part in that. So, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see this year.
Yeah, and he's also the manager of the national team last during the Premier 12 in the qualifier. Huge pressure being put on him, and I think he led the ship pretty well during those two tournaments. And he has said that he is willing to take the World Baseball Classic national team manager role again. Just depends on how the CPBL and the Monkeys kind of negotiate how he's supposed to um, delegate the time and responsibility, because now he is the first Army hitting coach. I do think that you know the monkeys, like the Lamigo monkeys era has been especially the top players during those teams have started to either retire or change teams, and we're looking at a new identity being built for this Rakuten era. And number 11, Li Hongyu is one of the few players that was a huge part of that, the three-peat era that's still with the team today. And he's kind of the core and soul of this franchise too. And that's one of the reasons I think why the Monkeys kind of locked him up with a pretty big contract this offseason to make sure he doesn't, he doesn't go to another team down the line. But this team, when I first started this podcast with the CPPL content, I've always said that Rakuten Monkeys, Lamigo/Rakuten Monkeys had one of the deepest rosters, and that everybody that can come up from the Second Army can absolutely tear it up. I wonder if it's still the same. I think you've got talent more distributed more evenly among the brothers, the Lions, the Monkeys, the Dragons in the last few years, especially with the league being expanded to where it is today. But like I said, they've been one of those teams where you look at their top end talent, you look at their depth, you're thinking maybe this is the year that they don't make the playoff, or this is the year that they probably take an off year, maybe will draft earlier in the following years. but they're always in there. They're always in the top three. They're always finishing above 500, and there's an art to that. That to be able to maintain a level of consistency in the CPPL. And so I think that's very tough to do. I think even the brothers have like they have the big ups and downs every now and then, but the monkeys, they have ups and downs, but like much more moderate and just kind of keeping things afloat and making sure they put themselves in a position to compete for a playoff spot. So I thought that's one of the key identity for me with the monkeys last few years. They're not the same that they were in 2016, 2020 when they're dominating everything, but they're up there. They're always in there for position to compete for a championship.
Yeah, and and there's another left. I like that left-hander that they have, number 54. I really like him. He could do something special. He's got something there, But yeah, no, I mean, truthfully, and for them, win rating, anything like that, if they stay at 500, they always have a chance to be in the Taiwan series. You really, really never know because they have all of the experience, and they have a coaching staff, and they have a Japanese manager, who's been there, and he's not going to expect, he's going to be tough on them, and he's going to be meticulous and be really organized with them like he has been, and he's not going to want to settle for fourth place. I know that, and he'll do anything possible to win. I know that. So just if they shoot for 60, they have enough, but let's say 30 of those wins coming in that second half, you never know. They can take that all the way to the Taiwan series and just roll with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, at 65 is probably around that rating where they'll probably get it. I don't think it's necessarily a thing, but because they know we got to get to the playoffs, and then who knows what's going to happen, boys. Truthfully.
Yeah, and that's a big part of that was in the 2023 playoff series where they go into the playoff against the Lions, who were, the Lions were first half season champions, and people thought that they were better, top end and depth wise, but the monkeys absolutely tore them apart. Now there were a couple, I would say that the margins were a lot thinner, but you go into the playoff series down 1-0 without a single pitch being thrown. If you're the monkeys, that's kind of like the disadvantage of not winning a half season championship, but they still ended up winning 3 straight games and go to the Taiwan series. I thought, like I said, short-term tournament, you never know. And the monkeys always put themselves in a position to exploit that to as much as they can. And there's an art to being consistently good for 120 games.
It's never
moving
easy
on to the go ahead.
against them. It's never easy. So
yeah, and Taoyuan, the monkeys, Lamigo monkeys / Rocket monkeys was one of I think they were the first team that decided to put every single home game in one single stadium. That was Taoyuan. The monkeys kind of started that tradition. It used to be games were being played all around Taiwan, but the Lamigo monkeys in either 2016 or 2017 goes, nope, we're staying in Taoyuan for all of our games. We're going to establish a home crowd. We're going to establish identity with a culture with Taoyuan City. And they were also the first one that kind of invented the new Taiwanese cheerleading culture. In the past, it was one side. You had if the Lions brothers are playing, it would be one side Lions fans, one side Elephant fans, and they would scream at each other for the whole game. But the monkeys were the first team that goes, nope, even above your dugout, we're going to have our fans there. All of you monkeys fans, all you brothers fans now go to the outfield. And we're just going to have cheerleaders dance from both sides. We're going to have music playing from both sides of the stadium. And that took a while to get used to for the CPBL. But that is kind of really the identity of the CPBL nowadays, just having that cheerleading culture. So that's a cool thing about this.
It's definitely a different realm when you do go to play there, and it's funny too, because I just think that they hold it's funny. I always joke around. It's like, it's almost like they treat their cheerleaders as if they're like Vegas show dancers,
Yeah.
where like they like before they show up, they need to weigh themselves, make sure everything's okay. Okay, now you pass, go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you don't
Yeah.
pass. You're not dancing today. You're
Yeah.
not a cheerleader today. Come back
Mhm.
tomorrow. Like it's
Yeah.
like just seems like there's regiment and there's just like different order and and their songs and everything. Like we talked about fight songs and everything. Some of that stuff, it still gets me rolling sometimes.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
no, it's definitely hard when you're playing them. And it's funny that you say that because that is something pretty unique that they did do that where
Mhm.
I didn't even think about that until you just said that all of their home games are at home. And
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
played home games in different cities and whatever, and they didn't. That's
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
That and I think it was the COVID season. All of the teams played every single home game at their home stadium,
Yes.
and then to like kind of I remember one of the news articles saying, "Oh, this will be the first time that everybody has done that, except for the Lamigo Monkeys, who's used like all of their 60 games. They don't do a tour. They don't go to the eastern part as much. They just make sure that all of their games were in Taoyuan.
Yeah.
So they've
Pretty awesome.
established a pretty good connection with the city, especially during the Lamigo era. But moving on to the 2024 Taiwan Series runner-ups, the Uni Lions. They are the to be honest, they're kind of the only team that's been in the league since its inaugurated year, 1989. The brothers, they had a change in ownership, but the Lions had the same ownership since 1989, and they're the only team that's been doing that outside of the Dragons. But again, they had left the league for about 20 years in the middle. They were 66, 53 and 1 last year. They were in the playoffs, and they were in the Taiwan series. They're stationed in Tainan, and they're they've established the southern Taiwan was their home base way before the new kind of version of home. Like I was mentioning, the monkeys doing that for Taoyuan, but the Lions ever since I was a kid was like Tainan is our home base. And they play games elsewhere, but it was pretty well established that Tainan is kind of their home base. And they've been very good up until before 2024. They had led the league in the number of championships won as a franchise with 10. Now with the brothers winning the 2024 championship and counting all of the elephant ones as well, now they're tied at number one. But the Lions held that title for the longest time. Their key stars involve Chen Jiexian, who just signed a $60 million 10-year $60 million deal, $66 million deal with the Uni Lions. That accounts for about 200 million new Taiwanese dollars. Now, whenever I say when you convert it to US dollars, you feel it was the big deal. But I always say that when you convert it, when I say 200 million new Taiwanese dollars, it kind of feels like if 200 million new Taiwanese dollars in Taiwan kind of feels like, no, it's not 66. It's no, it's 6.6 million US dollars. That's the total value of his contract. But it would feel like with the cost of living difference, it kind of feels like a $20 million deal, is what it will feel like in the US. And that's a 10-year, 200 million new Taiwanese dollar deal that he signed with the Lions. He hit the biggest home run in the Premier 12. He has one of the most handsome faces in the CPBL, and he's got probably right now the most influential. He's probably the most influential baseball star in Taiwan right now. And then you have likes of number 77 Liang Ke, who can rake one just out of the park. And he started in the CPBL as a two-way player. His first off season in the CPBL, he was a full-time pitcher, but then it didn't work out so well in the preseason. They kind of they gave him a few at bats in the preseason, tore everything apart, and then he became a full-time hitter. And so that's how good Lianka is as a hitter, how talented he is. And the Lions has been up there every single year as well. They're always start out very hot, and they will go on and cruise to the first half championship and put themselves in a position in the playoff to compete for a championship. And so, what do you think, John Foster? A lot of battles between the brothers and the Lions in the playoff recently, and also there was a little bit of a rivalry in the past. There was always a little bit of a rivalry between the Elephants and the Lions because there were the two remaining uh, um, first, remaining franchises that was in with the league since 1989. But a team with a lot of history and a team with playing in the stadium with the most history in Taiwan as well.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said in a different podcast before, I hated the color orange for 365 days. So it's yeah, there's always been something there. Another game, playing against him is not easy ever. But yeah, if I go down from bottom to top, if I go from the minor league side to the major league side right now, currently, I mean, you have an older guy in number 99 who used to be with Fubon. You've got 64, their second baseman, who's, gosh, has that guy had some big hits against us. And when he's on fire, he's top lineup guy who's really done a great job. He's due for a good season though. He did kind of go down a little bit last season, so he's due for a good one. And I think he was unhealthy. I think something happened. I'm not 400% sure. But like you said, 77, just watch out. I mean, he's one of the guys who you have to be on it because he's not only a power hitter, but he'll also give that up to get on base. And he'll go gap to gap. He'll go doubles. He'll go singles. If he knows he's struggling a little bit, he's okay with fisting one off and trying to get up the middle and really I'm just trying to get on base for my team. I've seen it, and he's one of those guys. And I think that he's due for a good one. Not that he had a bad one, but he's definitely a streaky guy. But I think that he also had like concussions or something had happened to him. And those are hard to come back from, and hopefully he's completely healthy because I think he's special and he's always fun to watch, especially now since I'm not pitching against him. And then you've got the older guy, number 51, who used to be with Fubon. He's a staple guy in the lineup. When he's hot, he's hot. He knows what he's doing. 32 is ready for a absolute stud season this year. 24 is probably one of the most consistent guys, but like I said earlier, a couple of injuries could really hurt a team. He's like a great example of that. Everybody can remember when he got hit in the hand that team was not the same without him. And I think that same thing when 32 went down. It's just like, wow, we're missing out a little bit here, and the team's struggling. But number 14 for them, that guy's fire. He is a firecracker in the lineup, man. He's tough, and now he's got even more confidence. He hustles his ass off. He's like a younger version of 24, and he's tough, man. He's going to get even tougher with more experience. On their catching side, infield side, 39's had good seasons. I don't know what he's going to do now. 35, 13 is an older guy who gets it done. Number 2, he's ready for a new good season this year. I don't know up to bat right there where they're going to be most influential to get the job done, but only time will tell, because any of those guys can just figure it out and be hitting over 300, no problem. There's no reason why some of those guys couldn't do that. On the catching side, we'll see. Don't really know on that side yet. But 65's done a great job. They have one of our old catchers, number 46. He's over there. I think he had some time last season. But on the pitching side, some of these guys have had really fantastic seasons that I can remember, but then they've kind of filtered off a little bit. And, hopefully if they can figure it out, this staff can really get some good things done, because they don't have the huge big names. Oh, he's this or that. But boy, did they get the job done. Because I remember these guys coming into the games and getting everybody out, because they just had this confidence level about them and how they went about their game, that nobody's going to beat me today. And they really believed it, and they pitched like it. I think that they get back to that, it's dangerous. But 69, 74, 75 could legitimately win 10 games for them or more. 58 with that's home, right?
Yeah.
Like you never know. He could be double digits too as well. Then you've got guys coming back with Brock and on the reliever side, 41, 40, 37. Like I thought 37 was one of the best relievers in the league for many years. And then he's kind
Hmm.
of had some arm problems.
Yeah.
Number 30, he can have a good year. 28, 26, 23. I mean, we can, and number 12. Number 12 is going to have a good season this year. Last year he kind of had a down one, and guess what? He's going to be right back and he's going to be on fire this year. Like he's just going to. He has consistency. He knows what he's doing. He just had a bad one. No big deal. Or an off season compared to what he's been before. Wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily say it was a bad one. Their manager likes him. They like the manager. You can't ever count these guys out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're scrappy. And when you play in Tainan, it's the toughest place to play besides, getting a butt kicking by the monkeys in Taoyuan. But yeah, so I mean, they just need to stay consistent, like you said. Look at last year, didn't they? They just ran away with the first half within like the first 3 weeks. It was like nobody could catch them. It was over,
Yeah.
and they kind of went down or whatever, and then they came back a little bit, and then sustained all the way to the Taiwan series, and then just got overpowered. Seemed like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, like this team, you look at the roster every year. It's like, oh, they have a few dudes. They have really good dudes. Liang Ke, Su Zhijie, Chen Jiexian, like the 77, 31, 24, especially like the outfield. Like it's all there's always their big point, like big thing. And then last year they had Mario Sanchez, and then Brock Dykeshorn is still with the team, and and then Hu Zhiwei, the guy who's always able to eat innings, hasn't been healthy last year and the last few there were a couple injury stints, but they got some pieces. To something, the new shortstop on their team that came back from AA last year, they've always got pieces, and it's just like, but you also feel like you feel like the depth is probably not there, but then their big guys go on like a huge streak at the same time. They go on, they have a huge month, and then they're in the playoffs, and sometimes I wonder if Fubon and the Lions they changed their identity, like they made a deal, like they changed their jersey or something, because you kind of expect the Lions records with the Fubon roster at times and vice versa at times, not always, but you always kind of felt like the Guardians is probably what the Lions should be. It's probably the Fubon Guardians should be what the Lions are a little bit, and sometimes the Lions are what the Guardians are.
I think that's pretty well said right there. Yeah, I think that the difference in those is toughness. The Lions have that toughness part that gives them the edge. Truthfully, I think that says a lot right there. Like they could easily flip flop if one or the other. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, and but you look at, I think a big part of that is how number 24 Chen Jiexian like glues everything together. And like you said, there was a period, I think it was 2023, where he's hurt, and then when he got hurt, immediately when he got hurt, you look at the dugout, everybody knew. Everybody knew. Yeah, everything deflated. And at the time, like, if you're a baseball franchise, you can't put everything in one basket. But Chen Jiexian is not only a great player on the field, but he was such a glue guy in the dugout. And you see that with the national teams too. He's so good at making sure that the players are on the same page. He's so good at communicating between the players and the coaches, and making sure that what both sides are looking for are being, exchanged. And so he's such a big part of it. And I think he's what sets the Lions apart from. He could, like you said, there could have easily been the Guardians, but I think the Guardians is missing that one guy that can really maximize the talent out of everybody. And the Lions are there. The Lions kind of feels like they're making more with less. But last year they also had a really good pitcher, Ku Ling Rui, on number 18 last year, who's now with Japan. That
he's going to be missed.
A huge deal. Mario Sanchez on that team too. So yeah, he's going to be missed, and I think that's a big part of. Like, because I was just browsing through the roster again, I'm like, I'm missing that X factor on the pitching side, and I just thought of that they Colin Reyes now off the team, so that's the piece that they're going to miss a lot. Where do you think they're going to go this year?
I don't know, because there are variables. I would say that uh, they're going to be top three. I don't know which area they will be top three.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yeah.
really know. The only thing is they just got to make sure they stay healthy. But they are missing
Mhm.
two really big arms this year.
Yeah.
So Hung kind of has a little bit of pressure as a local to kind of like, I need to take charge right here. I need to get,
Mhm.
I need to really take charge and be a staple, local, dependable starter for us and get six, 7, 8 innings every night, and really kind of set that tone.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a tough one because when you look at it depth wise, it looks like the other guys have more depth, but the Lions always figure a way to get it done.
Yeah. They
You
always figure
know,
out a way. Yeah.
they always find a way. When you think, oh, they've had it, and all of a sudden they go on a 10-game winning streak, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
know, it's a tough one. But I think that they'll probably be top three, and I think they're going to be, somewhere like you said in the
Yeah.
600 range. They're going
Mhm.
to be above 500. And
Yeah.
even if they're not, though, the kicker is like they could be below 500 that first half, just like we've seen, just like we
Yeah.
saw in 2020. And then that second half, they just took that all the way to the Taiwan series.
Mhm.
So um, their goal is to just go out there, stay healthy, win some baseball games, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
So like I think that their range is around the 65 range, and they're going to be
Mhm.
just fine. Just as long as they can get into playoffs, they'll. You never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
I'd like to see them not put so much emphasis early in the season. I like them to go out there and just play some baseball, get good,
Mhm.
and really start to feel yourself as a team, and then really mend and then take that however far that goes, whether it's in the championship or not.
Yeah. And yeah, they I think they're a big concern is replacing Gulin Rayon and Mario Sanchez, the top two. Yeah, that when have not having either one. Now Gulin Rayon being out that's a great deal for the Lions. They got some money back from that actually, and I think it's a great it's a great thing for the Lions that to kind of showcase their pitching development from where Cooling was when he first started with the league to where it is to where he was last year to where he is now. But big pieces to replace for 2025. Um, and then we go on to our last team and John's favorite team, obviously the CTBC brothers, also the defending champions of the CPBL. Their first year as the CTBC brothers was 2014, but they're also been in the league since 1989. CTBC Corp bought the Brother Elephants in 2014, and since then they've invested so much resources into this team. They've shown that they really do care, especially from the higher ups. They really do care about the well-being of their baseball team, and they had a stint of finishing runner-ups year after year after year. But when you look at it, that's also a testament of how good the organization is being run. Because in a 14 league, you're always in the top two. That's very impressive. And then in 2021, the brothers broke the curse kind of, and then goes on to win the 2021 championship. Since then, they've won 2022, and then they won 2024, and they're kind of on pace to win another one this year. They look the strongest everywhere. They bought the best pitchers from the foreign pitchers from other teams, and they're on in route to to at least be in contention. But I would say they're favorites to repeat in 2025 again. Last year, the regular season record was 70-50. There are so many great players on this team, but I want to single out Zhang Kuiyu in particular, the shortstop. He has like 20 different nicknames in Taiwan, including Corgi, because he apparently when he dives, he kind of dives like a corgi, which I know that I think I don't understand that one, but that's a very popular nickname of his. He is the best defender on the island, in my opinion, and he is no doubt the primary shortstop of the national team as well. And he entered the league in 2020, and he just signed he just signed a 10-year, $100 million New Townies dollar deal with the brothers this past offseason. I think 2 or 3 years before he was going to hit the FA market. That's how valuable he is. The brothers making sure that they have this guy locked up for the long foreseeable future. But the brothers, they're so good. They're in their home stadium, the Taichung Intercontinental Stadium, in my opinion, is the best stadium outside of the Dome, but nobody's going to use the Dome as a regular home stadium, at least not in the foreseeable future. And so I think that the brothers have the best first team stadium. They have the best developmental base in Pingdong. They have they always have the most resources. They hire some of the best coaches, and they definitely are very good at making sure that the best foreign players that showcase their talent in the league ends up being a CTPC brother too. So they're investing from all kinds of angles. John, how do you think about this team? Not that you know a thing or two about it or anything like that.
Well, first of all, like when you said it's your opinion that Cunha is the best fielder. No, it's not an opinion. That is a fact. There is nobody better than the shortstop. Not even close. Like that team, pitching staff, and the whole team is so lucky to have him. There are plays that he makes that nobody can make. He has saved games. He has saved pitchers' ERAs. Like there is so many things. He's one of the most consistent shortstops I've ever seen. Like there's no reason why he couldn't play at a higher level in the United States right now as a shortstop. No doubt in my mind. He's got all the tools for that as a fielder. Unbelievable. Like by far. Borderline MVP. Legitimately. All he would have to do is, hit a little above 300, truthfully, and he's like the MVP because nobody can touch his skills as a defender. Nobody, not even close. And then when you go down to the team, I mean, holy smokes, like I said, repeating seasons is always something that you always want to look at. Guys repeating seasons with the same team, guys like Kirk, McCarty. And then also too, you've got a change of team. So you've got Mario coming to a different team. Those are different ones. I'm not worried about Humberto. I think he's going to be fine because it's the first season and everything. And it looks like everything's fine. And then you got to look at Nivaldo too. Now Nivaldo's nasty. Like, I've always thought he was nasty. Probably should have got him 2 years ago, but people thought otherwise on that one, but he is nasty. I knew he was, and I'm happy for his success. Hope he just keeps going. And everybody knows Jose. That's my other son of that organization. He still calls me. We still keep in touch. He's awesome. But just go on the pitching side. Meme should be in the season sometime this year too. I mean, he's outstanding. I really hope that Yu Cheng figures some things out and he gets a real shot, and he could be a really, really great local starter. I really think he could. Just things haven't clicked yet for him. We haven't really seen his full potential yet either. By the way, Kurt McCarty, that guy knows how to pitch. He knows how to get things done. So I don't necessarily have any feelings that he won't get it done because he's a fighter, he's a competitor, and he knows exactly what he needs to do to get outs, and he'll do anything he's got to do to get the job done. So I'm not necessarily worried about him at all. And then let me go to the major league side right here on the roster. On the pitching side, our first rounder, number 12, whatever, he's been erratic, and he has his goods and bad points and everything. And, I think he still needs some more time to develop. Wei Shuo has had time, but he's always had like a 5-something ERA, and he's been kind of a, one of those kind of guys that kind of will eat innings for you and whatever. I'm really happy and so proud of number 15. Like he's gone through so many different ups and downs with surgeries, and going to the minors and not throwing strikes to just having the season he had last year was excellent. So I'm so happy for him. And then you have one of the most consistent locals in Kai Wynn. Like, jeez, like when he's healthy, I mean, he finds a way to get 6 or 7 innings every time. Jung Chan, hopefully he's healthy. He could be a staple item in the bullpen. CC Lee, we'll see what's going to happen with him. I don't necessarily know where he's at right now. But we'll see. He always finds a way as well. He's had ups and downs too as well, but he always kind of filters that out too and finds a way to get those done. Chiza, Tsai, he's always been a consistent guy, especially within the last like 3 or 4 years. I remember in 2017, 2018, he was up, down, kind of whatever, and he's really solidified himself for many, many years. Ikai, number 54. Ikai could be a staple item as a left-hander of the bullpen. He really, really could do that as like a mid-inning guy or something like that. I mean, he has a good high strikeout ratio. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and we'll see what happens with him. Chinga, of course, guys pitched in some of the highest pressure situations that I think any pitcher's pitched in here and came out just, he's got ice in his veins, man. The really, really cool thing is our pitcher here with the A's went to the WBC qualifier, and he sent me a picture of both him and Bohao together with the Taiwan, and I was like, oh, that's special. Like those two guys, that's pretty awesome. Got to look out for number 56, a left-hander reliever. Last year when he was there, there's something special about him, and you know what? He had some experience of being in the majors last year and staying healthy the whole season, so he could be fighting for a left-handed position out of the bullpen. He really, really could. Chen Hu, of course, we know last year he was there all season long. Didn't see him in the minors at all. Hopefully he can maintain that. But I think that being a first rounder of what he is, I think that people had more expectations for him. But if he can be in the bullpen and be a staple item for them for many years, it's not a failure at all. He just got to stay healthy, and he can get the job done. Of course, my son Unsa. He stays healthy. He's a Major League Baseball player, so he just stay healthy and he'll be fine. That's not an issue. And then some of the older guys who've established. You've got Xiaohei and Rong Hao. Those two guys are going to be in there in some way, shape, or form. And then you got Moon Young and number 91. You don't know what's going to happen with those two. Something could they could be an item this year. You don't know. And then, truthfully, on the catching side, we'll see here, but it's probably going to be between number 0 and 65. Truthfully, it's going to be between those two, and see exactly what's going to happen as far as I can comprehend. They usually get it done. I love 65. I think he's a great dude. I don't care if he is 0 for 500. I like him behind the plate. I really do. And as long as he doesn't take those at bats to behind the dish and calling his pitches, he's excellent. I really like him, and he's played in big games his whole life. So pressure doesn't really do anything. So, something to be said about that. I mean, gosh dang, I know all these dang kids when I'm looking through them. Then you got G, number 74. You got 66. Hopefully he's back and ready to go this year. Wong Wei Chan, of course, and you've got Cho 29. I like the kid number 3. I think it could be something special. We'll see what's going to happen. 61 is the dude, Donghua. I mean, just going through this, I just know all of them so well. You got Hollywood, you got Jame, you got Ray 88, you got Donghua. Well, actually, I say Donghua Didi.
Yeah. Number 92.
And it's pretty stacked.
Yeah.
Because like if one person at each position, except for shortstop, gets hurt, like they have somebody who most likely can step right in. And man, that first round pick, I think he was first round number 13. Boy, that kid is special. He's got something there. He's fast. He's got an idea of what he's doing. He's got a good body on him. Like he could be something there. I don't know yet. He's so young, but Oh boy, people are trying to say, oh, he's like Ray, but he's just a younger version. I'm like, well, I don't know. Ray's pretty special, so I don't
Yeah. We
know.
kind of saw a glimpse of his athleticism at the qualifier with the diving catch and then the inside the park home. Like he's so fast, and I remember like because you touted him, and so I kind of every time he even when he fields like a regular base hit, and then he tosses it to second base. I'm like, why are you like shooting a rocket from right field? Like the ball coming out of his head, even from TV, you can tell that it's straight and it's fast. It's something, it's how like that's a lot of talent there. It's just how it's a lot to develop and it's a lot to dig out. But that yeah, he's he's a freak athlete. It feels like
Oh,
yeah.
and I mean, I remember I went down when I was in the majors, and I remember I went down to the minor leagues to go see somebody. I think it was on an off day or something. And I remember showing up and I was like, what is that noise in the bullpen? Whatever. I go down to the bullpen. He's in the bullpen with one of the catchers with the radar gun. He's throwing bullpens by
Yeah,
himself. Nobody's there. And
yeah,
I was like, hey, don't get hurt, but like,
yeah,
you know, actually, what are your numbers?
yeah,
I went and I waited till the next morning and I went and got the radar gun to check like
yeah.
there's a recall button on it.
Uh-huh.
So I went to check the recall and it's like it's in the low 90s and I was like,
Yeah,
what are we doing? Like this
yeah,
guy's incredible. That he
yeah,
was just doing that for fun,
yeah, yeah,
but he's no he's special, man. He
mhm,
really is. But this team, yeah, truthfully, um, I've always made a point to tell the pitching staff from the beginning of the season every single year that we're only as strong as this room right here, and it's all
yeah,
the pitching staff. I said we're only as strong as us.
mhm,
And you know what? Over the years when we did win, uh, we had incredible pitching staffs,
yeah,
and same thing as last year. And guess what? They're right on track to do the same thing.
yeah,
But there's something they said we can not hit and still win, but if we don't pitch, we don't win ever.
yeah,
That's the facts. Like you can sometimes not pitch as long as you pitch. I mean, not hit as long as you pitch well,
yeah,
but the opposite doesn't necessarily work that good.
mhm,
you
yeah,
know, and taking ownership of that's a big deal. So, but overall, when it gets down to it, if these guys are healthy and whenever they have the experience, they're tough enough. They know how to win. They've been winners, and every single person on this staff, in some way, shape, or form, has been a part of winning the championship
yeah,
in the last 4 years. So the experience is right there, man. So
yeah.
you never know. You can't count them out by any means, but they're going to be in the top three for
And
sure.
I think it speaks. I don't. I think they're. I would be surprised if the brothers don't win at least one half season championship. I think top three is out of the question. It's, how when we talk about the monkeys and like the lions and it's like, oh, how do you get to the playoffs? But for the brothers, it's really how do you win the championship and how many games do you win it by? Because I think they're at a different standard with how the organization is being built, how it's being operated, and how the coaching is being done. I mean, I had Daniel Catalan on the show in the last episode, and we talked about how the brothers are furthest ahead in terms of using equipment and scientific data. Now, it's compared to the overseas leagues, it's probably there's still space to catch up, but within the CPBL, the brothers are up there in terms of the resources being invested and being used to develop players and just even your developmental base in Pingdong like that. I, every other team has been saying we want to get one of those since like 2017 or 2018 when the developmental the site or facility was being built, and how this many years gone by, and still it's still the best development, like it's still the only developmental base for baseball in Taiwan, and that shows one, how difficult it is to build it, and two, the level of investment and seriousness that the organization has put in order to make sure to have that in place for their team. And so, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and then you look at how this roster, how well we're talking about this roster and how much we're touting it, and that's after losing Chen Zhao. the right fielder the who's went to the Dragons. They're like they're losing probably a top five hitter in the league, and we're still sitting here saying they really should be looking at a championship or bust season. And so that's I think there no doubt the the empire of what is it, the evil empire of the CPBL, but they're also the most popular by far, um, and so they're not quite being treated as the Yankees, but like in terms of like scrutiny against it, but they are anything but the Yankees of the CPBL with the talent, the roster, and the history of the league, and the popularity especially of the league, and so in the league. How many wins do you think? 130 wins this year, or maybe? Uh,
Yeah, truthfully, with somebody like Hirano, the manager there is very detail oriented and treats the guys really, really well. And not only that, like when you're talking about the developmental side, by the way, the owner, Jeffrey, you know, he's just, I got nothing but great things to say about him. He's been awesome. Everything that what he's done, always being there for the guys. He would come into some meetings and everything, and invited us to his home for dinners, and like it's just he cares. He cares a lot about it, and you can tell. And it's great to see that. When I remember when I arrived for the first time, I was like, well, this is like way nicer than I expected. And then we went to another team. I'm like, yuck.
yeah, yeah.
But you got to think too, the Dragons too, they're in
Yeah.
Dolio. That's
Yeah.
that's a good spot to be too as well. They have the
Sure.
facilities there. They don't live like right on campus, but
Mhm.
they've got a good stadium. They've got two fields, two
Mhm.
full-size fields, and they have all of the indoor facilities they need.
Yeah.
And that field's awesome for water when it rains. Oh,
Yeah.
it's one of the best. So, hopefully every team can be that way. And whether they do it like they do in the States, where how about all the teams just go down south, get some
Yeah.
farmland down there, and every team just stay down south in the whole area, make that travel
Mhm.
for the minors really, really easy.
Yeah.
And that everybody's in that home base right there. Pretty
Yeah.
awesome concept. And believe me, I've been to the Pingdong for many years. I've been down that area. There's
Yeah.
plenty of land down there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Sure.
but yeah, so I mean, truthfully, with these guys, hey, sky's the limit. They have everything to lose,
Mhm.
truthfully. But Hirano's not going to go into this season without wanting to win it again. So,
Yes.
I would say that he's probably on that, whatever it takes to get there. I don't care if it's 30 wins or 80 wins, but I guarantee in his mind, he'd probably like to win 80. And I think that everybody's probably on that same boat, which is, I don't know if that's ever been done before, but
Yeah.
I think that you hold to that high standard. And then if 65 wins that half, then, you take that 65 wins, but
Yeah.
you're taking the 65 win with an 80 win mindset,
Sure.
So I think that, it's the expectations on their end is well above my highest rating, which was 77.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like we're going to win 80 this year, boys. Like
Yeah.
internally, you don't want to really verbalize that, because then you're setting up for failure, because that's such a
Yeah.
high bar. But you win the games you're supposed to win, and you try to win the games that you're not winning, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
For sure.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be as of right now, we'll see what's going to happen. But I think those bottom tier team in Fubon can make a really, really big impression this season. And I hope they do. Overall, I hope that there's like
Yeah.
a really, really big competition with Fubon, and really
Yeah.
pushing that envelope, and then really making those 5 teams fight their butts off for it.
Yeah.
And who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
TSG might be there too. But as of right now, I think that those top 5, I'd love to see them within 1 win the entire season.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And that wouldn't be out of the realm because of what can happen, right? Like even like I always go back to the 2020 season when up until the last game, up until the last 2 games, every team had some sort, like there wasn't a single game that was meaningless. Like every single team had a playoff spot on the line. and that was a 14 league, and now you got six, and now you have three playoff spots. Um, it feels like, and like if things go well for everybody, it will be a pretty close race, I think. And you know, I think this is becoming a very very cool season to follow, especially with. I also think the excitement around this league has never been higher for a long time because of the World Championship in November of last year, and so it'll be a
Mhm.
fun season to follow for sure. Um, and I think the attendance record will be broken in some shape or form, especially with the Taipei Dome still being there, and the World Championship being a boost to the local excitement.
Mhm.
Um, we have one question from the audience that I still hadn't had a chance to ask in the last three episodes, but it's a very interesting one. Before we move on to FaceTime, the question is, do you do this let me start from the beginning. For international staff who move to Taiwan to work in the CPBL, I assume that their spouses sometimes move to Taiwan with them. Do they find work or volunteer opportunities in Taiwan, or does the CPBL team help facilitate spouses involvement in some way or form, or is it up to the individual to figure it out?
That's a good question, but it's solely upon yourself, really. Um, Ultimately, when you think about the contractor, what you are just a person who works for this facility,
Mhm,
for this organization, and that's what you want, right? That's
mhm.
very, very much Taiwanese, kind of
Yeah.
a way, kind of like the Asian culture, of well, we didn't sign a contract for your family,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I knew that going into it and whatever, but ultimately, uh, they were great. They would help in any way, shape, and form possible. But I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak on my end. But
Yeah.
if there was problems or something needed to be done, I could always count on somebody helping me out in some way, shape, or form. For volunteering or anything like that, you're pretty much on your own. I don't think necessarily too many guys have actually gotten involved into those types of things.
Mhm.
Overall, I believe that I'm the only person in every way, shape, and form, all the way around the entire league, whose family was there full time, who didn't just come and couldn't take it and had to leave. Like
Mhm.
it's a different culture, and not only that, it's different than what a lot of people are used to. Me,
Mhm.
I'm used to being in different countries. So is
Yeah.
my family. We've lived in multiple countries over the years, so you just got to embrace the culture and just live in it, and you'll figure it out, and most people, say, oh, we're going to do it. And then, you know what, we can't do it. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
We need more of this and that. But if there was something that we needed, like say we wanted to volunteer, my wife wanted to do something, yeah, there would be no reason why. But I also had three kids with me.
Yeah.
So my wife really
Yeah.
didn't have time to do to
Yeah.
do extra stuff.
Yeah.
She's taking care of all the kiddos, plus taking them to school and doing all that.
Mhm.
Really couldn't do that much. But on the other end, yeah, I believe so. I think a good person to ask, if you could have Mike Laurie on. I
Yeah.
think that I think that he did, or that his wife had done something in the past, and I think maybe um who else? I think maybe Woodall too. You might have to
Mhm.
ask him. You
Okay.
know,
So
Woodall, shoot, Woodall should have a gold card by now. He should have a Taiwanese passport.
yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. For
but
sure.
so I don't. I can only speak for myself, and I think that that's where it's at.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, on my end, yeah, it's been helpful, everything. But if you need help, yes, but I can't say yes or no because I didn't really ask for it.
Yeah. So how? Because you did mention, I think, in one of the episodes that like your kids really, you know, they really love Taiwan especially when they left, and they show a lot of emotions too. And I think that was really, you can feel that emotions through the pictures and the reporting when you did leave, and there was news articles coming out saying, stuff like that. But how did your family kind of adjust to Taiwan's culture and the way of life, and how did you guys kind of get used to it?
Well, I started off in mainland China for 2 seasons, for 2 years, two full
Mhm.
years. And even though listen, being in China and being in Taiwan are not polar opposites completely, especially on the business side.
Mhm.
There's more similarities than the living side. Uh,
Mhm.
so like there's a lot of different things on both of those aspects. But what it is you have to try to find out what are the locals doing, where do they shop, what do they do, where do they get their food, what restaurants do they go to, and then you've got to kind of find out what are the good places you're going to still go to on your own, or what are you going to do, can you still get those done without other people, and trying to get that done by yourself and starting your own little niche of like where's that good happy spot where it's not completely foreign,
Mhm.
but it's also not overly local, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a difference between being in Kaohsiung or Pingdong. Like
Mhm.
those are two different places that can, if you want to go local Pingdong restaurant that is like local in
Yeah.
one of the rice fields compared to going to Kaohsiung, it's way different. So like a
Sure.
local restaurant there, it's bigger, it's more, it's got nicer facilities than you go to the other one. Now the
Yeah.
food might be better in one or the other,
Yeah.
you'll never know, but the atmosphere and what you're going to get in the other place may not make some people feel right
Sure.
because it's like, oh, this looks like it's in somebody's backyard. Well, it
Yeah.
may be,
Yeah. Yeah.
but guess what? Everybody does it. Everybody's eating here, so
Yeah.
like let's get accustomed to it. Let's
Mhm.
go all in and everything. And I mean, I live locally there, as much as I could. Especially my last season, I got a nice place there in Pingdong, like in this nice neighborhood in Joru, and I loved it. Like it
Mhm.
was fantastic going home. My neighbors, like
Yeah.
I loved my neighbors, like everything. It was awesome.
Mhm.
So I hate driving in Pingdong because it's just like there's like no rules whatsoever.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
you know, it's just like the scooters are like overly aggressive, even with the blinker on. It's like
Yeah.
you have to like almost turn in front of them in order for them to actually brake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. That's just it's so different. But yeah, you have to embrace the local culture and then go from there. You can't
Yeah.
necessarily go there and want to live like they if you want to go to Carrefour every single day and only shop in the foreign like aisles, like you're going to pay for it in the long end, and it doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. So just get
Mhm.
accustomed to the scents, the spices, the food, and then once you do that, you can just embrace yourself.
Yeah.
Make a good mix of you change your vegetables, which ones do I like, and it's just a different change. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, I love going there and eating the fruit. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
do you know how much dragon fruit? Oh, well, you're here.
yeah.
Dragon fruit here in the United
No.
States is ridiculous.
Yeah.
There it's like 20 NT for one, and here it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
$3, which would be
Yeah.
like 100 NT. It's like what?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
And it's not even the same like species, and it's the especially the mangoes. I mean, you look they're mangoes, but they're not mangoes. Like
oh yeah.
I kind of gave up on fruits in America a long time ago. Like probably like 2 months in, I'm like, this ain't it. So I for a while I was just like apples and bananas and like maybe mandarins in the winter, and that's it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And
you're actually right on the right track with that. Yeah, you want to
yeah,
stay with apples. Like here in the States, you want to stay with apples. You can get good pineapple, watermelon,
yeah,
absolutely.
hmm
But yeah, the mangoes, those have to be
yeah,
imported because if you get mangoes in Taiwan, or if you get them in, say, my place in Costa Rica, they're
yeah.
not the same, dude. Like,
What's I yeah
they're
it
they're so different.
yeah yeah it's yeah I kind of yeah I kind of save all of my budget for fruits whenever I go back to Taiwan, and then when I come back to the States, I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm not gonna. I made my mistakes. I made enough of them. I'm not gonna go into another one, especially in the
Of
north.
course.
Now, like in Texas, I think you can find some fresh fruits here and there. In the north, it's just it's especially in the winter, it's just like that's not happening. So,
Yeah, I
um,
know.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
well, before I let you go, we always do FaceTime. I forgot to remind you before the show, but there is FaceTime, which is you get as much time to talk about one topic that can be about anything. Doesn't have to be baseball related, or but you get to basically not. You don't have to rant, but you can just. It's basically you could get to stand on the soapbox. Is that the phrase? You get to stand on the box and talk about one topic for as long as you want, um and so yeah, without further ado, or if you're ready for it, you have the floor for the fourth
Yeah,
this time. Yeah.
don't really know. You know what I will do is I will still stay true um to what we're talking about, and not
Mhm.
necessarily the teams, but Taiwan in general. You know, I'm obviously in the United States now, and so like it's just so different. You know, being back here, like even though this is my home country, it's almost a culture shock for me, just to be back here. And but the baseball is, you know, it's incredible. I mean, I'm seeing 100-mile-an-hour arms on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
it's just incredible to see this level of talent. And it feels fantastic to be here and to wear the new uniform. You know, it really, really does. But it's funny because none of the coaching staff really knows me
Yeah.
the way you do and the way Taiwan knows me.
Yeah.
So when all of a sudden I'm walking through our field and then I'm surrounded by 9 Taiwanese fans wanting
Yeah.
my autograph and want to like take pictures with me, and they want to sit and talk to me. By the way, I give them my line account. I
Yeah.
tell them to text me whenever, because I know it's safe.
Yeah.
And being in Taiwan, it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Like you just know that you're getting genuine people who aren't going to go out of their way to kind of bother you and stuff. But I joke to everybody, they're like, how do all these people know you? I'm like, I, the only thing I could tell you is that I'm Taiwanese famous.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really
For
great.
sure.
It's really, really great to be here and to actually still see that side of people remember me. They some people have actually came with my cards from Taiwan, and some of my like
Oh
they
wow.
you know it's just really, really nice to kind of still feel that, and to know that like my time wasn't like kind of wasted there in a way. You know, like
Hmm.
it's pretty awesome, you know, to see that I've actually
Yeah.
I actually did make an impact there, not only on my players but around people who weren't in it. You know, and it kind of,
Yeah.
you know, with the brothers and everything. You know, the brothers have been fantastic. You know, with the front office, the owners, you know, the general manager, everything. You know, I left for other reasons. You know, that
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into, but you know, I have nothing but great things to say about them. You know, they always did the right thing for me. They always helped with me, with my family, with them having to go to school. If I needed to come late one day, you know, especially Lynn's son would be fine with me. You know, I'll be like, hey, I have to go get the kids, or I have to do something. It's like, okay, you know, like do what
Yeah.
you got, you know. And it's been awesome, you know, truthfully, to be able to see that it's still lasted there in a way. And like
Mhm.
getting that picture when Zhuang here went there, and getting that picture of Bohao and him, and they just, you know,
Yeah.
they both texted and just said, hey man, we miss you. Like
Mhm.
that's something special to me, you know,
Yeah.
whether they meant it or not. But
I'm sure they
but
did.
it's but you know, it's just it's, I mean, I've given those guys hugs before and told them that I love you, you know, like you guys are incredible. Like I've done that, you know.
Yeah.
So like it's I've been around them more than I have my family, because I spend most of my
Mhm.
time with them. So they're, you know,
Mhm.
it's close to my heart, you know. And it's been it's been a really, really great experience of like actually being so far away, but yet somebody finds me and does an interview with me here, and it's pretty awesome, man. I'm just I'm really fortunate, and I'm just
Yeah.
really happy that it's the way it's worked out.
Yeah, and I think yeah, you're at least one of the most like longest tenured foreign coach in the CPBL, especially in the
Hmm.
last 15, 20 years. And so you've definitely, and also being with the brothers helped a lot. If I
Of course.
imagine if you're, you know, the brothers brand is so big that it definitely helped. But I think that the way, yeah, it's also the way that the way that your tenure ended in the first army, that definitely helped a lot. But I think, yeah, that brothers really do. I think that was part, like it's such a big part about the brothers, for the brothers fans, because of break the curse, you go back to back and things like that. So you definitely had to have a legacy in Tony's baseball. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we have the opportunity. This is our fourth episode, and I hope there'll be more down the line. But you know, it's been very very fortunate to have opportunity with you to learn from you about how Taiwan develops players, to how you see the game of baseball, to how you look at the CPBL overall, and so and give answers. And so yeah, thank you so much for the last 2 months. I think it was incredible experience. And we'll definitely do this more often down the line too, as the season goes on. And there's nobody I can talk to that knows about the brothers and the league more than you do. So hopefully we'll have your expertise on the show more down the line.
Of course, I'm always available, and I will always take time out of any day to speak to you and answer any questions some people may have. There may even be a chance to have an entire podcast of just questions. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, and I'm excited for those. Well, thank you guys for listening. We're about to hit the 2 hour mark. This probably will be the longest show that we've ever done on this podcast, which is saying a lot. But again, thank you, John Foster. Take 2 hours out of your Sunday afternoon to talk with me. Excited about the regular season show starting in a couple of days, in next Friday. Today is March 23rd. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right.